Welcome to Spectral Shadows, where the darkness whispers and the unseen lurks. Tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it? Because horror feels different at night, especially when you're alone. Those who love their mother, like, share, and comment. Subscribe, if you dare. Now turn off the lights, and let's begin. Story number 1. No good deed goes unpunished. No evil deed goes unappraised. I speak now as a man who is defined by clarity. If I had been asked, referencing my definition a few years ago, I would have hesitated, pondered, perhaps even zoned out in the ether of existentialism. Eventually I would reply, making my son happy. If you asked me, once more referencing my definition, a few months ago, the words would practically fly from my lips like an uncaged crow. Survival. My son was killed by a drunk driver who, by taking my son, took a word from my vocabulary and mutilated it, violated it, loved. I had to say I loved my son. I couldn't wake up and look him in the blue marble eyes and smile and say, I love you. That word was taken from me by the last person I'd expect. His mother didn't bother showing up to the funeral. I don't want to see my son like that fucker. Translation: I don't have any clothes not stained with cum or soaked in crack smoke, fucker. And other than me and my father-in-law, the pews were empty. Thank you for coming, Emmanuel. His hand was as soft as sandpaper, but gentle. Of course, kiddo, this isn't something you face alone. Sasha not comin'. His eyes kept mine open, kept them alert. I shook my head, and he nodded his. It felt like his hand was glued to my back, keeping a constant pleasant pressure on my shoulder. The service was short, and despite paying for the lecture, I only had one person to eulogize to. He never got to meet you. I'm sorry about that. Just everything with Sasha. I was so bitter. And I didn't even know you existed till you just kinda appeared while she was first showing signs. You don't need to apologize. It's not like I'll never meet him. I'll end up in the same garden he is. So will you. I think I'm gonna be okay. I just need some time. Well, once you're ready, I'll call you. I raised an eyebrow for a frame, but smiled crudely and nodded. I Ubered home. I suppose the driver was typically chatty, but picking up a tear-stained man from a funeral house was a hint enough, and tipped the fella $15 for the quality AC. 8 glasses of cinnamon painkiller were enough to get the tears to stop. As I went for a 9th, the first knock came. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Through the peephole, I saw a lean white man with slick salt and pepper comb-over. He wore a black suit and tie. I opened the door, expecting a Mormon, and noticed he now wore glasses, too. They were thin and circular. I must have missed them in my hasty once-over of him. I thought he looked better with them anyway, so I didn't pay it much mind. Yee. Yes. Hey, neighbor. I just moved in down the way, but the movers won't have my stuff there till tomorrow. Could I borrow some lunch meat or something? It was a weird question. But houses aren't cheap, especially not in my area, so who am I to deny a man tight on cash? Sure, you look lost. I was stunned for a moment. Did you just move here too? Relief escaped my lungs. My drunken gait was indifferent from a man lost in a new, too-big house. No. Just a little too many stiff ones. I faked a chuckle, and his chuckle followed, even faker than mine. It was oddly reassuring. He faked his laugh to make me feel better about faking mine. I smiled for the second time that day. "Do you want to come in? Get some coffee?" He took 2 steps back and looked up at the sky with a sarcastic examination. My dad always told me to play things safe, but where's the harm in living a little dangerously? Now I actually chuckled and swung the door wide. "Coffee at 6. You must be a Knievel." He walked inside. "1, actually, but I prefer Lou." And stayed for about 3 hours, sharing stories about his time serving as a missionary and pastor. It's been a while, but Egypt was an oven. You simply cannot escape the heat. I can only imagine it's worse now with global warming and all. Sip. But I was out there with a dozen of my guys trying to spread the oh-so-good word and help some of these people, but He stifled laughter while he spoke. "We ended up getting chased out by some hippie in a damn curtain." He practically screamed in laughter, and I followed suit. But little did he know, I don't get chased out that easily. "Man, it's getting late. I ought to head home. Thank you. Thank you for humoring an old fool." He stood up and threw on his jacket. "Of course. And thank you. I needed the laughter. I always provide." He bowed slightly and I chuffed. "You mind if I come around again? See how much more I can steal from ya?" He giggled and I wheezed. "Come and take what you want any time, friend." "Well, I like your doors, so I'll start there." And once more I wheezed in a caffeinated drunken giggle fit. He stuffed down his laughter and extended his hand for a shake. My hand rose, but was snatched back as my phone rang loudly. "Shoot." "No worries, get your call, bud. I'll see you later." I grit my teeth, embarrassed but nodded and waved, before shutting the door and rushing to my phone. "Emmanuel." "Hey, kiddo. I just wanted to check in on you." The velvet gravel voice of Emmanuel bucked in my ears, and in my motion, my stomach twisted to a knot. It felt years had passed since I thought of him, of anything other than booze, coffee, and conversation. The world came back to me. I'm better as I can be. Good. I was wondering, and you can say no, if you'd want to come to church with me Sunday. I don't know if that's where I belong. I'm not asking you to, and trust me when I say you don't need to, but it'll help. I chewed on my cheek. "All right. Where is it?" "Don't worry about that part. I'll pick you up at 5:30 a.m. Deal?" "Deal." The next day, around 3 p.m., Lou, tap, 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 then cracked open my door and peered in. I craned my neck, cheeks slightly tear-stained as I gripped a photo of my son in a Thomas the Tank Engine costume me and him had DIY'd for Halloween. "Hey, bud. Bad time." No. I'm just thinking. What an atrocious sin. Oh, how hell will punish you. He cracked a meek smile. A humming chuckle rose in my throat, but died there as well. He walked in. The suit was a dark shade of red today, nigh black, and sat next to me on the couch after shutting the door softly. "Your kid." "Ailey. He's 3 here, and I swear he's the cutest kid ever born." My stomach dropped and fiery guilt swelled, but swiftly died. I'd be hard-pressed to disagree. I would work for days every October to help him choose what costume he wanted. Then we'd go get the materials and spend a week pouring our hearts into it till it was perfect. Then he'd go out and get maybe 3 pounds candy. Guess how long that bucket would last? 2 days. No, yeah, without fail. 2 days it'd empty, and he'd say the same thing. "Never again, Dad. Never again." I did everything to make him the happiest he could be. Make him know he was loved. Gently, So gently, I had at first thought the picture floated from my hands. Lou took the picture and stared at it with a distant glimmer in his eye. He's in a better place now. Tears flowed again. I hope so. If I had it my way, he'd be in his room right now, building some skyscraper with his magnet tiles. But maybe he is. Just not here. A rock grew in my throat, and an opaque haze blurred my vision. I'm sorry for all this. Can I get you coffee or a sandwich or something? No. I just wanted to swing by and say hi. I gotta unpack and I'll be at it all day. I could help you if you need. No, I got a legion on payroll. After they get done doing all the grunt work, I'm gonna put on some blues and decorate till I've got no wall space left. How far down the way are you? You know the fork in the road? About a mile or two? He conjured a mental map. That way. He gestured west. The yellow one. Oh. The manor house? Wow. You're rich. Yeah. She's a nice place. No damned AC, but I've been through worse than heat. He tapped the picture with his index finger, then opened and swiftly closed his mouth. What? Oh, nothing. I was just gonna ask if I can keep this. He looked queasily at me, embarrassed, my lip pulled back behind my teeth, then relaxed. Yeah, I got plenty. He brightened. Thank you. He stood up and set his hand on my shoulder. You were a good dad. Thank you. I barely remained intact. Thank you. And he left. I went to bed that night with an alarm set for 4 hung quoc, so I could wake up, adjust, shower, dress, and get coffee made. By 5:15, all to be ready by 5:30 for Emmanuel. REM came quicker than usual, and similarly, left quicker than typical. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. 2:52 a.m. The clock on my nightstand blared in red dashes. I sat up, floaty-headed, and lurched towards the door out of my bedroom, sluggishly traveled down the hall, shambled down the stairs, and peeped through the peephole. Lou stood facing away from the door in a maroon suit. I swung it open and was met with his smile. He had been facing the door, hadn't he? Lou? I grunted. Moses, I'm glad you're up. May I come in? I hesitated, confused. Yeah, of course. As he entered, I spotted that he held the picture of Ely in his hand. I need to talk to you, my friend. Sit. What's up? I said, more awake now. What I'm about to say. It's gonna sound weird. What? He rolled his tongue along his lips. Your son. How did he die? What? How did he die? Don't ask me that. Moses. His face lost all luster and kindness. When the car spun out, the back passenger seat slammed in a pole and he was... Why are you asking me this? Lou answered swiftly. Who was the drunk driver that day? No. Please, no. Who? I began to weep. Me. I had gotten, and I thought I could manage. But the rain. I lost control. Lou dove to my feet, his hands cupping my face and directing my eyes towards his. Shush. It's okay. It's okay. Look at me. I know the pain you feel all too well, and can help you. I can bring him back. Whoop. I've done it before. Brought people back from the other side. Myself a time. You can see Ailey again. Have Ailey again. All yours, like before. How? No. It's not right. It's perfectly right. Because it's what you want. Here. His index finger tapped my heart. I know. Because I know it all. How? You just have to ask. That's it? Lou nodded. My lips trembled and my body quaked. Can you bring my son back? Yes. His hand rose, and so did mine. It glided forward, then recoiled as my phone rang up the stairs. I turned to face Lou, and he shrugged. Now or never. Without a thought, my hand swam forward and shook his. Congrats, my friend. All things are how they should be. My racing heart eased its pace, and we both smiled. Better go get that call. He chuffed. I dashed up the stairs, all hope and joy and passion, but reignited. Love came back to vocabulary. I raised the phone to my ear. Hello? I chirped. Why did you shake his hand? Emmanuel sobbed. What? Emmanuel, what's wrong? I told you we'd see him in the garden someday. Did you want it that bad? Was it worth your soul? What? You could have saved yourself. I made you to be wise. How could you think so little? And the call ended. Moses. He's back, he shouted. Lou shouted. Lou won. Lo won. I dashed downstairs, tripping halfway down and riding my spine to the ground. I scrambled up and panned my gaze to Lou. Ailey stood beside him, eyes wet with tears. Say, hi, Ailey. No, I wailed, cascading to my knees. Yes. I fell to my side and wept against the planks. Get up, Moses. You don't have much time. I clambered to my knees and crawled into the living room. Ailey. I sniffled. Dad, Ailey murmured. Are you okay? No. I broke down again. Moses. Look at me. He knelt to my side and pulled me to my knees. You have 10 minutes. Heaven will only let him be out here for 10. Short. Minutes. Mo. You already paid. No point in crying. Spend this well, okay? His voice was new. It was slicker and polished. It was soft. It was kind. He removed his pocket square and cleaned off my face of the waterworks. I shuddered toward Ely, who smiled now that my complexion was less glum. How are you, Buckshot? Good, Dad. I've been at this pretty garden with Emmanuel. There are all these fruits that I didn't even know existed. His smile was as bright as the day I lost him. His voice as innocent and curious as every day he'd woken up. That's amazing. We talked for what felt like an eternity with an end. Each minute felt like some grand and critical part of the world was falling away, but also that it was used to its fullest before its loss. He told me of relatives he met and friends he had made. He spoke of the food and the music, the wings in the sky. I can't wait for you to see it, Dad. Some part of me knew, but a glance to Lou confirmed it. It'll be a while before I do, but I'm sure the wait will be worth it. I held my son as the last lie I'd ever tell him fell away from my mouth. His warmth grew, then dulled. Lou walked to my side, Ailey's soft skin becoming gritty as whatever he was made of turned to dust on the furniture. It broke back out, tears cleaning and dragging away spots of the dust. I'm sorry, Mo. I really am. You're a fucking liar. The worst part is, I can't be. I'm not allowed to not do this to people. Most of the time I enjoy it. I get to look evil souls in the face as they come to understand. But cases like these, I wish I didn't have to. What do you mean? I wish you could know. His cheeks became wet. I'm so sorry. I was begging you'd say no. Goodbye, Mo. I'm moving today. And he left. Clarity fills me now. Of definitions I've given myself, this one is, unironically, the clearest. I have been given a profound understanding of how many things are watching everything you do. How many things cheer and jeer, how little they lie. That's the part that still hurts, more than any other. Demons lie, and they fail because of it. But the devil will give you nothing but the truth, and that's why he will always get you. They call him the king of lies, but not once. Not with me or any other human past, present, or future. Has he ever lied? He smiles, dresses well, smells of honey and speaks so compassionately. He's gentle and kind, so kind. His face is never the same, but it's always only his. He will look like you least expect, but most enjoy. He will ask for little things, and soon he'll ask for everything, and you'll give it to him. You only have one hope. If you hear a knock, 3 taps, 3 times, on your door, and the man on the other side of the door is dressed in a deep red suit that could almost be mistaken as black, don't answer. Just pray and unlock the door, because if he is at yours, you deserve whatever is coming. Story number 2. I wouldn't say I'm the best of dads, but I try. I really do. Especially for my children. Especially for my son. He looks up to me like I hung the stars. It scares me sometimes. How much he watches me. How much he mirrors me. My own upbringing wasn't exactly ideal. My father was absent, mostly. In and out. Never in one place long enough to matter. Never involved enough to remember birthdays or bedtime stories. I spent most of my childhood waiting for a man who never really showed up. Now, I run a successful PR firm. Big clients, big contracts, big house in the suburbs, picture-perfect wife, beautiful kids, a life that looks polished from the outside. Shiny, clean, but the cracks are there. A couple of days ago, my wife leaned in from across the kitchen island and said casually, "Your son's birthday is tomorrow. Have you thought about any entertainment yet?" It was like a cold wind slipped down my spine. Oh, heck. I haven't, honey. I completely forgot. She didn't answer at first. Just gave me that look. The kind of look that says more than words ever could. Then she turned and muttered, almost to herself, "Am I the only present parent?" The guilt sank in immediately. Heavy, familiar. His birthday was tomorrow. That's when it hit me, hard. I was becoming my father, that same drifting shadow, the one thing I swore I'd never be. So I left for work, phone in hand, frantically Googling last-minute clowns, magicians, anything. But everything was booked, solid. No one was free. Really, all of them. Were clowns seriously that in demand? I parked my car in the driveway and just sat there for a minute, the engine ticking as it cooled. My fingers gripped the steering wheel. I needed to fix this. Today. No more putting things off like my old man. My son deserved better. By the time I reached the office, the elevator smelled like burnt coffee and that lemon-scented floor cleaner the janitors used. I barely noticed. My mind was buzzing. Party hats, cakes, clown rentals, balloon animals. I had to line something up. The elevator dinged on my floor. Just before I stepped out, Mark slipped in, coffee in one hand, tablet in the other. "Hey, man," he said, raising his brows. "You look like hell. Everything okay?" "It's Liam's birthday tomorrow," I muttered. Completely forgot to book entertainment. No clown, no nothing. I'm scrambling. Mark chuckled, slapping my shoulder. Classic dad move. "So what are we thinking? Pony rides? Fire breathers? Or do we just roll out the old iPad and hope for the best?" Come on, man. I'm serious. Know anyone? He shook his head, grinning. I've got 2 left feet and crippling social anxiety. You don't want me around kids. Sorry, can't help you. Useless, I said with a smirk as we stepped off. You're lucky your daughter likes you. Yeah. Good luck finding a clown on 24 hours' notice. He peeled off toward his own office. I sat in mine for about an hour, shuffling through emails and going through the motions, but my brain wasn't there. My phone's search history had become a desperate list of terms like last-minute birthday clown, kids party magician now, PR dad failure. Nothing new, nothing available. I had a client meeting downstairs just before noon, same building, just 1 floor down in the glass conference room. On my way back, my head buried in my notes, I bumped into someone. Oh, sorry, man, I said, backing up quickly. The janitor looked up at me. Old guy, pale skin, blue coveralls. He had one of those rubber gloves half hanging out of his back pocket and a mop handle resting lightly against the wall. Birthday party? He said suddenly. I blinked. Sorry. For your son, he said, a slow grin creeping across his face. You're looking for a clown, right? Something inside me froze. How did you... He pointed upward with a greasy thumb. Heard you and your buddy talking. Thin walls in that elevator. Oh, I said. Right. Yeah. You wouldn't happen to... I know just the guy. He interrupted. That grin of his stayed in place. Wide. Wrong. Old school type. Real classic. Kids love him. Always available, too. Before I could say anything else, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled card. It wasn't even laminated. Just a torn piece of yellow paper with a number written in sharp red ink. No name, no logo, just the digits. He placed it in my hand, like it was fragile. Give him a call, he said. He never disappoints. Thanks, I said, still caught off guard. You work here long. I don't think I've seen you around. But he was already walking away, mop in hand, disappearing around the corner. I stood there for a moment, watching the empty hallway, the card still in my hand. I should have asked his name. Maybe I should have been more polite. I worked in PR, after all. Keeping track of people is part of the job. Still, something about him felt off. Like a face you only see once in a dream and never forget. But I had a number now. Maybe a solution. And if this guy came through, well, maybe I owed the creepy janitor a beer or a raise. I wrapped up at the office just as the sky started turning orange, the end-of-day glow stretching across the city like it was holding its breath. I didn't waste any time. Drove straight to the biggest toy store in town and loaded a cart with everything that screamed guilt money. Remote control cars, action figures, a Lego set big enough to bankrupt me twice. I didn't even check prices. I just grabbed what looked shiny and loud and fun. Part of me still didn't want to koite masanta call that clown. The janitor's words rang in my mind the entire time I stood in the checkout line. He never disappoints. That smile, that teeth-too-many kind of smile. I kept the card tucked in my wallet like it might poison me through the fabric. He was my last resort. A backup plan for a promise I should have made weeks ago. By the time I got home, it was dark. The porch light flickered once as I turned the key. Inside, the scent of cinnamon and fabric softener hit me like a hug. Home. I barely had time to put the gifts down before Liam ran up the hallway in his rocket pajamas, arms wide open. "Dad!" he shouted, slamming into me with full 6-year-old force. "Is the clown coming tomorrow?" I knelt and wrapped my arms around him, feeling his excitement pulsing through every hug and every bounce of his little feet. "Hey, champ." I ruffled his hair. "That's a surprise. You'll just have to wait and see, all right?" He grinned, eyes sparkling. "You should be in bed right now," I added with mock sternness. "It's way past your bedtime, okay?" "Okay, Dad," he chirped, already half-turning down the hallway. He didn't even wait for a goodnight kiss. Just zipped back to his room like he'd explode if he didn't fall asleep fast enough to get to tomorrow. I stood there in the foyer a moment longer, the Superman-wrapped presents glinting under the ceiling light. As I was laying the last of the Superman-wrapped gifts near the living room table, I heard her footsteps. My wife came around the corner, tired eyes, hair tied up, hoodie hanging off one shoulder. She kissed me on the cheek, more habit than affection, and asked quietly, "Did you get the clown?" I looked away. "Everything's booked," I muttered. "I don't know what to do." She sighed, that kind of sigh that makes your stomach twist before the words even hit. "You had weeks, Michael," she said, arms crossed. "Weeks to figure this out. It's like you want to disappoint him." "That's not fair," I replied, half-heartedly. "No," she snapped. "Then what would you call forgetting his birthday entertainment until the night before? You think buying him a stack of toys makes up for that?" I didn't say anything. I couldn't. She was right. She shook her head slowly. "You promised me you'd do better, that you wouldn't turn into your father." That one hit harder than I expected. Then she turned, without another word, and went upstairs. The sound of the bedroom door clicking shut might as well have been a coffin lid. I sat there for a long time, staring at the floor, my reflection warped in the gloss of the wooden tiles. I was a terrible father. No arguing that now. It was 10:00 p.m. when I stepped outside for a smoke. The air was cool, still. Even the streetlights seemed dimmer than usual. I reached into my wallet, pulled out the crumpled card, stared at the number, my thumb hovering over the screen. I had no idea who I was inviting into my home. But Liam wanted magic, and I was out of options. I dialed. The phone rang once, then a rasping voice came through, gritty and wet, like someone dragging glass over wet concrete. "You've reached him. Hey, I was told you do birthday parties." Silence. Then, "How old is the boy?" "6, I replied slowly. "Good age. Still soft." My throat tightened. "Excuse me?" No answer, only muffled breathing. "You were saying, you come highly recommended. Can you make it tomorrow?" "Address?" "It's 438 Willow Bend Lane, Crest Hill Meadows, 12 o'clock, our house. Please don't be late." A low chuckle bled through the line. I am never late, and never early. I arrive when I'm needed most. The line went dead. No goodbye, no confirmation. Just the hollow click of a call cut short. The morning came like any other. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. Birds chirped in the garden. Normal. Too normal. We decorated the backyard. Streamers, balloons, even some makeshift graffiti banners that said "Super Liam" in big red letters. My wife lit the candles on a gorgeous blue and red cake shaped like a superhero mask. It was perfect, but I didn't care about any of it. My eyes kept drifting to the front gate, waiting, watching. Noon rolled around. The yard filled with laughter and bright little voices. Liam's friends arrived, their parents trailing behind with gift bags and juice boxes. Music played from the speakers. Everything looked like a dream. But Liam kept glancing at me, searching the yard, searching faces. The clown hadn't come. 12:30. Still nothing. His smile began to fade. I checked my phone, tried calling the number again. Nothing. Just static. Then silence. I felt sick, and just when I was ready to break down and tell Liam the clown wasn't coming, the doorbell rang. I opened it. There stood Mark, wearing a baggy clown suit and smeared face paint, holding a balloon sword and grinning like an idiot. His daughter peeked out from behind him. "Surprise, asshole," he said. "I figured you were balls deep in failure by now." Behind me, Liam let out a scream of pure joy. All the kids gathered around Mark like he was Santa in grease paint. He juggled, made balloon animals, tripped over his own shoes. The works. Even my wife cracked a smile. It was a good party, until the music faded and the parents started collecting their sugar-crazed children. As Mark helped fold the last table, I pulled him aside. "Hey, listen, thanks. Seriously, you saved me today." He nodded. "Yeah, I could see the panic in your face yesterday. I threw something together with some old Halloween gear." I blinked. "Wait, what?" "Yesterday," I repeated. "I called you last night. The voice, that creepy-ass whisper. You asked for my address." Mark furrowed his brow. "Dude, what? You didn't call me. I just showed up because your wife texted me that you were losing it." My mouth went dry. "So you didn't talk to me on the phone?" "No." He gave me a weird look. "I hate clowns." He laughed nervously. "Why? Did I sound creepy or something?" I didn't answer, because in that moment, the realization struck me cold. Mark wasn't the one I spoke to last night. Then who was, and where was he? The sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving behind the last gold streaks fading into purple. The backyard was a mess. Balloons popped, paper plates scattered, and half-melted cake left out on the table. But the laughter had been real, the smiles genuine. The party, somehow, had been a success. After the last guest waved goodbye and the door clicked shut, I carried Liam upstairs. He was half asleep, cheek resting against my shoulder, still clutching the balloon sword Mark gave him. I tucked him into bed, pulling the covers up to his chin. He blinked sleepily at me. "Dad?" "Yeah, buddy. Today was awesome," he yawned. "You didn't forget, right?" I smiled, brushing his hair back. "Forget what? Your big day?" "Never." He reached up, small fingers curling around mine. "You're the best dad ever." That hit harder than any guilt ever could. I leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Sleep tight, Super Liam." "Night, Dad." I turned off the light and gently closed his door behind me, standing there for a moment in the dark hallway, just breathing. Then I made my way to our bedroom. My wife was already under the covers, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I entered, set the phone aside, and opened her arms. I slid into bed beside her, and she pulled me close. "Don't worry," she whispered, resting her head against mine. "We're a team. We got through it." I exhaled. "Yeah, it just bugs me. The clown, the one I actually called, he never showed." She shifted to face me. "What time did you tell him to come?" 12 o'clock. Noon. She raised a brow. a teasing smile creeping in. Maybe he thought you meant 12 a.m. I blinked. Midnight? What kind of children's birthday party happens at midnight? She laughed softly. Who knows? Maybe he's just old school. Or maybe you hired a vampire clown. I chuckled, but something about her joke felt just a little too close to something I didn't want to think about. Don't think too hard about it, she murmured, eyes already fluttering closed. The birthday was saved. Your son thinks you're a hero. End of discussion. I leaned over and kissed her. Thanks for helping me pull it off, I said quietly. She just smiled sleepily and pulled the blanket over her shoulder. I lay back, staring at the ceiling for a while, my thoughts drifting to that crumpled card still in my wallet, and the voice on the other end of the line, and somewhere far off, maybe in my bones. I felt something shifting, but I closed my eyes and let sleep take me. I woke to the sound of footsteps outside our bedroom door. My eyes shifted to the clock, 12:00 a.m., right on the dot. For a second, I thought I imagined it. Maybe it was the wind, a tree branch, some part of the house settling. Then I heard it again, slow, deliberate steps on the hallway floor. I reached over instinctively. My hand found my wife's arm, still asleep, breathing gently. So then, who was out there? Burglar. That was my first thought. Someone trying to break in. I rolled out of bed silently and opened the dresser drawer. My fingers wrapped around the cold steel of the handgun I kept locked away for emergencies. Safety off. Finger alongside the trigger. I crept down the hallway, every creak of the wooden floor like thunder under my feet. The living room was empty. So was the den. I swept the front door, locked. I moved into the kitchen. That's when I saw them. Muddy footprints. Not mine. Too small to be mine, but too large to be Liam's. They trailed across the tiles and stopped near the refrigerator. Then nothing. I took another step, and a scream shattered the silence, high-pitched, raw, agonizing. "Daddy!" My heart seized. It was Liam. I sprinted down the hallway to his room. The door wouldn't budge. It was locked. "Liam!" I shouted. "Open the door, baby. It's Daddy." No answer. Just muffled sobs from the other side. I didn't hesitate. Bang! I fired at the knob. The wood splintered. I kicked it open. The room was empty. The window was wide open, curtains fluttering in the cold night air. I rushed to the sill and looked outside. Down in the backyard, barely visible in the moonlight, I saw something that stopped my breath. A figure, in a bright white costume, dragging my son by the leg across the grass, toward the trees, toward the dark. "Liam!" I screamed, stumbling back from the window and tearing through the house to the back door. I fumbled with the lock and burst into the yard barefoot, the grass cold and wet beneath me. "Daddy!" His voice cried again, echoing through the night. I ran. I ran like I had never run before, lungs burning, heart pounding in my ears. But the laughter, that laughter, it started low, almost playful. Then it twisted into something feral. It grew fainter, deeper into the woods, until it vanished completely, like it was swallowed by the night. And suddenly, everything was silent. I slowed, panting, eyes darting in every direction. And then I saw it. Right at the edge of the forest, a red clown nose, lying in the dirt. Beside it, Liam's Spider-Man pajama shirt, torn, blood on the collar. There was something pinned to it, a piece of yellow paper, same texture as the card from before. It read, Thank you for the invitation." He smiled just like you said he would. By the time I stumbled back to the house, my wife was on the front lawn, screaming into the phone. I could already see the flicker of red and blue lights washing over the street. The cops questioned me. I told them everything. The clown, the card, the janitor, the voice on the phone. They exchanged looks like I was delirious. One of them gently patted my shoulder and said, "We'll do our best, sir." I wanted to scream. My wife didn't say anything to me that night. She just sat on the couch, rocking, sobbing, blaming herself, then blaming me. But she was right. It was my fault. I went to work the next morning. Not to work, to find the janitor, the man who handed me that cursed card. I asked security, HR, maintenance. They pulled up the building's employee registry. No one by that description. I stared at the blank hallway near the elevator where I met him, and for a moment, I could almost hear the squeak of his mop again. Months passed. My wife stopped looking at me. First it was subtle. Eyes that once lingered now passed over me like I was furniture. Then she stopped sleeping next to me. She claimed the couch at first said it helped her back. Eventually, she stopped being my wife altogether, 2 weeks after the funeral. If you could even call it that. She moved out, left behind her keys, her ring, and a silence that settled into the corners of the house like dust. The detectives arrived on a Thursday. Rain fell in sheets, streaking down the glass and pooling at their feet when I opened the door. I remember one of them, tall, hollow-eyed, refused to look me in the face. The other held a file to his chest like a shield. They had found something, remains, deep in the woods, scattered. DNA confirmed it. They told me with measured words and soft tones, voices wrapped in caution like I was fragile, like I might break. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the floor, and the sound of the rain filled everything else. It's been over a year now. Sometimes I still wake up at midnight, eyes wide, breath caught, heart thudding like it knows something I don't. In that fragile moment between sleep and reality, I let myself hope, just for a second, that it was all a nightmare, that none of it really happened, that I'll pad downstairs and find my world whole again. But the footprints are still there. Tiny, muddy impressions trailing across the kitchen floor. I've scrubbed them more times than I can count. Bleach, vinegar, baking soda, on my knees until they bruised. But no matter what I do, they always return. Smudged, wet, fresh. And sometimes when the wind dies down and the night holds its breath, I hear laughter, soft, high-pitched, childlike, coming from the woods just beyond the edge of our yard. It never lasts more than a moment, but it freezes me in place every time. I don't dare go looking. I don't own a phone anymore. I haven't in years. But I kept the card. It's old now, worn around the edges. The ink has begun to fade, and there's a crease right through the middle where I must have clutched it too tightly. Still, I carry it with me, in my wallet, always, just in case. In case one day I work up the nerve to call him back, the clown, and ask what he did with the smile I used to see on my son's face. Story number 3. My brother, Michael, is dead. I should probably lead with that. They found him 10 days ago, but from what the coroner said, he passed a long time before that. At least a month or 2. I'll spare you most of the grisly details that I wish the cops had spared me. He was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and everything else that comes along with that. There was plenty of food and water in the house, and he didn't have any other injuries aside from some shallow cuts on his arms and hands. Doesn't make sense, but it seems like he just decided to stop eating and drinking. Obviously not a decision made in any proper state of mind, but that's unfortunately not too surprising. I haven't seen Michael in person for almost a decade. Around the time I went off to college, he was still living at home while he finished up at a local trade school. He wanted to be an electrician, I think. A couple months after I left, out of nowhere, my parents started calling me all upset and worried at least once a week. Michael keeps disappearing for days at a time. Michael keeps yelling nonsense at your father. Michael showed up last night all confused. It was always something new, and it was always about Michael. I wish I could say I was a good brother and came home to help figure things out, but I didn't. We were never that close growing up. I was a straight-A student that played clarinet in the wind ensemble. He was always in jeopardy of failing at least 2 classes, and his only extracurricular was getting high with his friends. There was never any animosity between us, but there wasn't any real sibling bond either. It sucked to hear what was happening, mainly how it affected my mom and dad. But I didn't think I could really help any, and to be honest, I was more focused on school than anything else. My parents tried to get Michael in to see professional help, but he refused. In fact, when they tried to push the issue, he left home for good. They had no idea where he went. They even filed a missing person report. 2 months later, they found him. He was living in some run-down old house out in the country, half an hour from the nearest paved road. No running water, no internet. The only power was from a pair of repurposed solar panels haphazardly mounted to the roof. Apparently he bought the place and a small piece of land from some farmer nearby. Guess he still had a good chuck of his inheritance from our grandpa. Of course, my parents tried to get him to come home, but again he refused. He said there were people watching him, following him. He didn't even want people coming out to visit, since he was worried that they would lead whoever was trying to get him right to his doorstep. Even still, my dad went out to check on him every few days, for a while. Then he went every week, then every couple of weeks. Michael talked to him less and less every time he went out there. In the end, Dad said he only went out twice last year to check on him. Last time was almost a year ago. I think that part is really eating him up now. So that's the background. On to the present. I'm in town for a week or so to help my parents sort things out. It's the first time I've been back since high school. Once I finished college, I ended up getting married, then had a kid a year after that. Never was much time or reason to come back since my parents were more than happy to travel to us for visits. But with this all happening the way it did, I figured the least I could do was come help my mom and dad with the funeral arrangements and all of that. Funeral is set for next weekend, so that's squared away. Michael didn't have a will or anything, and as far as we can tell, the house, the land, and his truck are the only things he had left to his name. The police just finished up with the place a couple days ago, so I went out to take a look around. When I say the place is remote, I'm really underselling it. There's nothing to see for miles around aside from tall grass, low hills, and a single winding dirt road that runs roughly north to south. A barely defined driveway leads from that road another quarter-mile east before it ends unceremoniously at a 2-bedroom hovel with cracked plastic siding and a roof with maybe half the shingles still intact. By the time I pulled up, I could barely see the chipped blue paint of my sedan underneath the thick layer of dirt. There's a hand pump well out front and a leaning carport with a dusty red pickup truck wedged inside. And that's it. The whole place gives me Deliverance vibes. It's just missing the inbred kid with the banjo. The place is even more depressing on the inside, though. It barely feels lived in. Peeling wallpaper, cracked windows. The living room has a two-seater sofa, a broken lawn chair, and a coffee table. And that's the most furnished room in the whole place. The first bedroom has a mattress on the floor with a nasty-looking blanket balled up on top. The second bedroom has a couple boxes of Michael's things that he apparently never even unpacked. The bathroom has the usual equipment: toilet, sink, shower, etc. But nothing in any of the cabinets or drawers. And lastly, the kitchen is barren, too, aside from the standard appliances. No utensils or pans. Some beer, a couple canned vegetables, and 2 frozen dinners in the fridge are the only real signs anyone's been here in the last year. As I was walking through the first time, I kept spooking myself. Thought I heard someone knocking on the door or opening the fridge. They said they found him in the bedroom, leaned against the wall. Thankfully, the cleanup crew did a decent enough job that you can't really tell. If anything, that corner is far cleaner than the whole rest of the house now. Kinda morbid to think about. The whole place feels eerie. I've never been here before, and there's barely any sign of Michael at all. And yet I still feel something when I'm standing inside. Like I can feel some sort of connection being in the same place he did for the last part of his life. Something I never felt when we were growing up together, when he was still alive. Sounds stupid. Probably is stupid. Even so, it was enough for me to sit on the filthy couch for a bit and wait for the odd feeling to pass. Mom asked me to bring all of Michael's stuff back to their place so they can sort through it. I was worried I'd have to make multiple trips, but after seeing it all, I figured I probably wouldn't even have to open my trunk, unless she really wanted a ratty mattress or a lawn chair in 2 pieces. I brought the boxes from the spare bedroom out first, followed by the food from the fridge. Honestly, should have just tossed that stuff in the trash, but whatever. As I was doing one last walkthrough of the place, I noticed something in the bedroom. Sticking out from under the mattress, I spied something bright red. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was a spiral-bound notebook, like the kind you have to bring for middle school. Pushing back the grungy old mattress, I find more of them. All different colors, some clearly more used, others still sealed in plastic. At least a dozen in total. I started piling them up and flipping through the ones that weren't sealed. They were diaries. The dates go back to when I was still in college. It's definitely Michael's handwriting. He always had surprisingly good penmanship. I flipped through a couple of the older-looking ones, but nothing immediately jumps out at me. Some strange passages that gave me déjà vu of the things Mom and Dad would describe on the phone. Paranoid-type stuff. Random diagrams that didn't make any sense. A couple creepily detailed drawings of people and figures I didn't recognize. I wondered why the police hadn't taken them, but I don't know how that whole process works. I guess if it was clear there wasn't any foul play, they wouldn't really need to take evidence. Intrigued, but not wanting to spend any more time in the house than I already had, I stacked all the journals up and brought them out to the car as well. After almost 45 minutes, I was finally back on the highway heading toward town. I had initially planned on bringing the stuff straight to my parents' house, but as I was driving, I started to have second thoughts. The most recent diary's first entry was dated only about a year ago. I didn't see how it ended. I was worried it might be graphic, or it might have some sort of goodbye message. My mom's been a mess since one of the neighboring farmers found Michael, since she first got the call from the police. If these diaries contained something particularly heavy, I didn't want to just toss them in my mom's lap and let her have at it. At the very least, I felt like I should have an idea of what to expect. So instead of driving to their place, I headed back to my hotel. I called them and told them I had the stuff and would be by in the morning. I left out the notebooks for the time being, which brings us to now. It's almost 3 in the morning here. I just finished reading through Michael's last diary, and now I'm typing it up. There's a knot in my stomach. I should just go to sleep, but I can't. I think I'm just trying to make sense of it still. Reading it through once left me with a funny feeling I can't shake. Maybe someone on here will have more luck wrapping their head around it. Sorry, I know this kind of thing isn't normally allowed, but maybe just going through it one more time myself will offer some clarity. I don't know. Just read it for yourself. Below is Michael's last journal. I will note any of my own thoughts in brackets, if I think they're necessary. 7/11/2024, Dad just left. Wish he would stay away. It's not safe. They always show up when people come by. Car didn't look like Dad's when it pulled up. Checked when he left, and it was his again. 7/12/2024. Haven't seen any outside for a few days now. I think I finally scared them off. Hopefully can make it to the store soon. Running low on food. 7/13/2024. Need to ask Paul if he needs any more work done on his combine. Paid enough last time for 2 months of food. We'll get more rice, less meat. Rice goes farther. 7/15/2024. Spoke too soon. Saw one of them again when I got back from the store. Ran off into the grass before I could get close. Wish I still had my gun. At least I got enough food to stay inside for a while. 7/16/2024. Getting bolder. One was banging on the wall last night. 3 knocks, 4 times. 12 knocks. 7/17/2024. Quiet again. I made some food and turned the lights on. I don't want to let them dictate how I live my life. I'm not afraid of them. They know more than I do. But I know something they never will. 7/20/24. I'm pretty good at cooking rice. 7/25/2024. Over a week with no sign. New record. 7/26/2024. Sometimes I still miss having a TV. I used to watch the late night shows I wasn't supposed to. Grayson would always tell on me. But TVs are too dangerous. You watch them while they watch you. 7/27/2024. They were inside the house last night. All the beer is gone. Empty can of corn on the ground. Maybe they've been inside for a while. 7/28/2024. Toilet flushed while I was sleeping. Gone by the time I got to the bathroom. I'm not safe here anymore. I never was. 7/31/2024. Every night. More sounds. Heard a shattering sound a bit ago, but can't find anything broken. I got lost on the way to the kitchen. 8/1/2024. Saw a cat in a dream. Reminded me of Ringo, but he was only ever a kitten. Ran away. Mom said he found a new family. 8/3/2024. Got lost again. Opened the door to the bathroom, but ended up back at my bed. Tried again, and it worked right. Heard voices. Slept in the tub. 8/4/2024. Multiple voices from my room. Camera shutters. A terrible lady. Not leaving the bathroom, but getting hungry. 8/7/2024. Took 2 days to find the kitchen. Had to go through the closet door in the spare room. The doorknob felt loose. 8/28/2024. Haven't left the kitchen for the last couple of weeks. I've tried. At least there's food. Hearing the knocking again. 3 knocks, 4 times. 12 knocks. 9/7/2024. The front door doesn't work anymore. It won't open. Paul was outside, but he couldn't hear me. 9/21/2024. I tried to break one of the windows. It shattered, but when I looked away, it was fixed again. Cut my arms up pretty good. 24. I keep hearing the people in my room, the ones with the terrible smell. I took my notebooks with me so they can't read them. My hands aren't cut anymore. 10/1/2024. I got outside, through the cabinet under the sink, but one of them drove up in my truck. I had to run into the field, ended up in my closet, tried the sink cabinet again, but it only led back to itself. 10/31/2024, Happy Halloween. 11/8/2024. Food should be gone by now. Some days it is. Some days there's food I never bought. When I find the kitchen, I stay for a few days, ate some corn and drank 3 beers, all that was left. There will be more next time, maybe. 11/9/24. The knocking lasts for days. 3 knocks, 4 times, 12 knocks. 11/20/24. Watch died. Not enough sun through windows. Can't tell days anymore. My arms are cut and bleeding again. 11/20/24. Been in the living room. All the doors lead back here. Someone sat next to me. I saw the cushion move. 12/20/24. I think it's December 12th, 2024. 3 knocks, 4 times, 12 knocks. 12/24, Merry Christmas. 1/20/25, Happy New Year. Not worth keeping track anymore. Saw a cat outside. Looked like Ringo. I'm never getting out of here. Brushed my teeth. They're falling out. Back in the kitchen. There's food, but I don't want it. It makes my stomach hurt. I already ate this food. Think I almost got out, but I think it was a dream. I can't tell when I'm sleeping. Tried to break through the walls. Now I'm stuck. Can barely see. I hear someone outside, in the rooms. All of them. All at once. I bang on the walls. 3 knocks, 4 times. 12 knocks. 3 knocks, 4 times. 12 knocks. Lots of unintelligible scribbling and tally marks on this page. I made it back to my bedroom. I don't want to leave again. Could get stuck. Could get lost. Smells bad. Stains. Flashes when I close my eyes. Kitchen could be miles away. Don't want that food anyways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There is a crude drawing of a black and white cat. That was the last entry. Nothing but blank pages after. I never knew Michael had gotten this bad. I should have known. I should have listened. But it's all too late now. I've considered reading more of the diaries, but I don't think it will help. If they're all like this, I don't know if I can make it through them. Reading this through a second time and typing it down, it only made that funny feeling I felt in his house even stronger. Like a nauseating nostalgia for something I don't even remember. I'm glad I got all his stuff when I went earlier, because I sure as hell don't have any plans of going back. Guess I should get some sleep. I'm rambling at this point. Sorry for wasting everyone's time, but I guess this helped at least a little to get it on digital paper. I don't normally partake in the hotel minibars, but tonight seemed like as worthy an occasion as any. Nothing like some cheap liquor on the rocks, out of a disposable plastic cup for a nightcap. A toast to my late brother, I suppose. Finding the ice machine was a nightmare, though. The layout in this place makes no sense at all. Story number 4. Okay, so I don't really post on Reddit. I mostly just lurk and read weird stories when I can't sleep or whatever. But something happened, and I guess I've seen people share similar stories like this on here before, so maybe someone will know what I should do. Anyway, I've always had really vivid dreams, like full-on movie dreams, colors, smells, stuff that actually feels like I'm awake. It's been like this since I was a kid. And sometimes really small things from my dreams will happen. Nothing crazy. Like one time when I was 12, I had a dream that my mom used buttermilk instead of regular milk in her coffee and spit it out all over the floor. Next morning, she grabbed the wrong milk carton and, yeah, just like I saw in my dream, it's always just been little stuff. My friends joke I'm like a witch or some fortune teller or something, LOL. They say, have any dreams about my next hot date? Like it's funny. And it is usually light stuff, but lately the dreams have been getting like louder. I don't know how to explain it. More there. They feel heavier, and things keep lining up. More than usual. Like I'll dream I get a weird text from someone, and then I do. Or I'll dream about a commercial I haven't seen in years, and then it pops up the next day on YouTube. Stupid stuff. Still small, but too many in a row. So a few years ago, I had this dream about the house a few doors down the street. In the dream, I saw this guy break in through the back door with gloves on and steal a bunch of stuff. It was super fast and weird, like watching security cam footage. A few weeks later, my neighbor actually got broken into, back door. They took some prescriptions she left out and electronics. She told my mom, and I felt sick. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? And now this is like what I need help with. Last night I had a dream that my best friend died. But like she was murdered. It was awful. I don't even want to write it all out, but I saw her lying on the floor in her apartment. There was blood. Her front door was open, and her cat was crying. It was so vivid it woke me up and I couldn't breathe. It felt real. It still feels real, like it happened already and I just watched it from the wrong timeline or something. I called her today. She's totally fine. She laughed at me when I said I had a bad dream, but like I didn't tell her what it was about. How am I supposed to say that? Hey, haha, I dreamed you got murdered. Maybe lock your doors tonight. But I can't stop thinking about it. It won't leave my head. I keep seeing the details, like how her plant by the window was knocked over, and there was this weird song playing on her phone, something she never listens to, and she was wearing her favorite hoodie. The blue one with the stains on the sleeve. What do I do? Should I tell her? I really don't want to freak her out. Stuff like this she hates. So what if I make it worse? I know logically it is like, probably. Nothing, but I haven't been able to sleep. I'm so scared to wake up to a call knowing I didn't do anything. Story number 5. I found a ticker tape machine at a garage sale, and I bought it. You know, the machines that print out stock prices on one long paper tape. Come on, you've seen them. Probably in a movie. It's the 1920s. Some pinstriped fat cat is smoking cigars in a boardroom in an Art Deco skyscraper, and he wants to know how much his railroad interests are trading for. Ticker tape machines kind of look like miniature engines with one long piece of paper, sort of like the little paper slip you get in fortune cookies that's fed to you so you can check what stock price is. Well, I bought one and brought it home. I was sitting in my office having a beer and, to be honest, hiding from my wife because we were constantly arguing about money, about how we didn't have enough money, about ways that we lost money. It just started ticking, which surprised me because the woman at the garage sale said it's never worked, not as long as her father owned it. It started ticking slow at first, like it was a toy with almost dead batteries. But once it got going, It really got going, printing on the tape as fast as I imagined it had ever gone. I saw stock symbols printed on the tape, symbols for corporations I recognized. The companies you buy your coffee from every day, and a new phone from every year. I didn't remember plugging it into a power cord, or telephone cord, or anything else. But hey, I'd had a beer or two, so I double-checked. I searched the machine's housing to see where the plug went, but there was no cord. The machine wasn't plugged in at all to anything, and then it stopped on its own. I pulled the tape from the machine and took a look. Every stock price was printed 2 times in a row, like this: stock price X, today. Stock price X, tomorrow's high. Stock price Y, today. Stock price Y, tomorrow's high. Stock price Z, today. Stock price Z, tomorrow's high. I thought it was a hoax, or one of those pranks people record for their live stream. But hell, I was curious. So I went online to check the prices for today, at roughly the time the machine printed out its tape. The prices were correct. I laughed at myself while I did it, but just out of curiosity, I checked the tomorrow's high prices the next day, and the ticker tape machine had made across the board accurate predictions, down to the exact fraction of a cent. I tried to calm down. There certainly had to be an explanation for this. I couldn't think of what that explanation might be, but there had to be one. Because the alternative was, well, I just couldn't buy into the implications of that kind of hoodoo. The ticker tape printed out more predictions every day, and every time, on the day following, the market would prove the ticker tape machine right. I tracked it from Monday to Friday, every trading session. Its predictions were accurate the entire week of trading. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to tell my wife, but I knew how that conversation would go. Oh, you've got a precognitive money-making machine you bought at a garage sale. That's great news for us. Just give me a minute to call the men in white coats. Do you know what I did next? Oh, sure, you know. Hell, I knew I was going to do it. Anyone would. I took everything we had in our checking account, and it wasn't much. And I bought whatever stock the ticker tape showed making the biggest one-day swings. The day between buying the stocks and selling them was torture. Oh boy, my wife got a banking notification on her phone, and she was ready to just about barbecue my ass. But the next day, the prices hit the daily highs that the ticker tape predicted, and at that exact moment, I sold everything. Just on the first trades, the first securities transactions I'd initiated in my whole life, I made enough money to wipe out all our debt. And did I make a few more trades after that? Oh, you bet your ass I did. Months went by, and money came in amounts plentiful enough to make a good Christian cringe. We went from not paying the mortgage to paying it off. I bought matching brand new cars for me and my wife. I was riding so high I could almost touch the sun. But you know the story about the guy with wax wings, don't you? My luck turned, as it was bound to do. That was when he came for a visit. My wife and I had already settled in our bed when the doorbell rang. "Who is that?" she said. "I have no idea. Just leave it. They can come back tomorrow." "What are you talking about? That's rude. Don't be rude. Just go answer the door." I groaned as sullenly as I could and got out of bed to go down the stairs. When I opened the front door, there was a gaunt man in a pinstripe suit standing there. The suit's cut was very boxy, and it had patch pockets instead of flaps. My grandfather owned suits like that. He said the patch pockets saved fabric when the country was rationing during World War II. "Hello, can I help you?" I held the door half closed. The guy gave off a weird vibe. "Hello, yes. I'm here from collections." "Collections. Honey, who is it?" My wife called from upstairs. "Just a minute." I exited the front door and held it almost shut behind me. I whispered, "There's some kind of mistake. You see, all our debt's just recently been paid off, all of it." The man smiled. I saw that he had gold caps on his canines, both top and bottom. A jewel-toothed predator. "Oh, sir." "I'm quite aware you've paid off all your balances. That is, in fact, why I am here to collect." I don't understand. Collect what? If there's no debt, what are you collecting?" "Well, you didn't think you could just use our ticker tape machine, and it would be free, did you? It was a trap, a trick, or something. It had to be. Or maybe it was real. Maybe it was a shakedown. Maybe there was some predatory lender out there who found out when I was hard up for cash and dropped a price predicting machine right in my lap, so I'd do anything to keep it. But why wouldn't they? He, she, them, whoever. Just use the machine themselves. It didn't matter. I never signed anything. And I bought that ticker tape machine, fair and square." "I have no idea what you're talking about," I said. The man frowned, and I swear, his body grew inside of his suit. I could see the fabric stretch. God, his gold teeth were so sharp. "I promise you, sir, it's a good deal less messy if you remit as required by use of our device," he said. "I'm not giving you anything." The man sighed and gently placed his briefcase on my porch, right in front of him. He removed his tie. "Very well." He took off his suit jacket and laid it over our porch's railing, slipped his cufflinks out of his shirt cuffs. He started unbuttoning the top of his shirt. "What the hell are you doing?" I said. "Honey, who's down there?" my wife hollered from upstairs again. Hey, I said. "Stop that." "Sir, it's unfortunate that we should come to an impasse at, frankly, quite such an early juncture. But you have the right to choose," he said. I saw a vertical seam open in his face, from the top of his skull to down underneath his chin. The seam widened into a rift, and when he spoke again, his voice was garbled and rough-edged and much, much deeper. "Just as we have the right to collect." I tried to run inside, but the collector's hand shot out and held the door shut behind me. The split in his face opened up even wider, and another face emerged through the split. It looked like a deformed baby being delivered. Things that looked like tapeworms shot from inside his chest, like 1,000 miniature grappling hooks. The tapeworms sunk tiny teeth into every part of my body. The pain was almost indescribable, like fire ants injected into my flesh. I tried to scream, but only croaked noiselessly, unable to speak. A shadow formed around us, a living, moving shadow. The collector pushed his second face through his first, and closer to mine. His inner other's skin was made of moving black water that rippled in concentric waves all over his face. I screamed, but the shadow enclosing us absorbed the sound. I tried to plead, but was choked by the air inside the shadow, sulphurous and ranker than summer roadkill. The collector lifted the hand not holding my front door closed up to my face. His nails protracted until they were better than an inch long and curled in toward themselves. They looked like sharp fruit spoons. "Next time," the collector said in his low, low voice, his voice that was like bubonic plague, "be ready to remit." And then he reached into my mouth. I bucked. I thrashed and flailed. I tried to get away. But the uncountable tapeworms that shot from his chest arrested my body so I couldn't control my limbs. I felt his sharp-spooned nails dig into my gums, and I was at last able to shriek. He ripped an incisor from my bottom row of teeth, and then the collector let me go. In a matter of 3 or so seconds, the collector's transformation was reversed. His second face pulled back inside his first. The thousands of squirming, sharp-mouthed tapeworms sunk back into his chest. There was no evidence to show he'd ever changed at all. I couldn't breathe. Every inch of my flesh still stung, and there was a throbbing pain in my mouth like in broken bones. Only when the collector had put his suit jacket back on and had begun retying his tie again was I finally able to suck in a desperate lungful of air. I rolled onto my side, blood dripping from my mouth onto the welcome mat, dribbling right in the middle of the letter C. I was crying. The collector finished refastening and tightening and tying his wardrobe together, and he was suited and buttoned up again straight away. He could walk into Smith & Walensky, and they'd have no idea he was a tooth-pulling monster. He picked up his briefcase and opened it. He briefly examined the bloody roots of my extracted tooth and smiled in apparent self-satisfaction. He put my tooth in a side pocket of his briefcase and then closed it shut. "Just a reminder, sir," the collector said. "We come on the 5th of the month." Then he walked off my porch and into the night. This all started happening about 2 years ago. I'm wearing my partial dentures at this very moment. I know I should stop. How crazy is it to want money more than peace? But I guess in that way I'm like a whole lot of people who put their wealth before their health. The one thing, though, that nags me, keeps me up late most nights, is this thought. When all my teeth are gone, what will the collector take next? Story number 6. I am a carpenter, and I don't think I'll be continuing this profession after what happened. I've been a carpenter for 5 years, and I'm 25. It runs in my family. My dad and his dad were both carpenters as well. It's a pretty boring occupation, but I've always felt proud that I was carrying on a legacy. You may be asking yourself, what could possibly happen that would make someone stop a family legacy? I didn't think anything could either, until it happened. Let me back up. When everything started, I was at my one-bedroom apartment. It was a gloomy yet beautiful day, you know, when the fog is out, making everything more gray but cozy, and all you want to do is crawl into bed and watch a movie. Well, that's exactly what I was doing until I got a call from a man named Glenn Peterson. I knew of him because I'd seen his billboards all over town. I think he's a lawyer, but I never paid close attention to the billboards to know for sure. Anyway, I picked up the phone, and he very quickly started telling me about a wine spill on his wood floor and how he needed someone to replace it. He sounded frantic, like he was running from something while calling me. I said I could do it. "When would you like to schedule this?" I asked, deep down hoping he wouldn't say today. He said, "Tonight would be perfect." I rolled my eyes and said, "Okay, what time?" 10 p.m., he replied. I told him, why can't I just come now? But he insisted that I come at 10, promising a hefty tip. I was short on money, so I figured this would be a good opportunity. I was horribly wrong. At 9:30, I packed my gear for the job and walked outside. It was very dark, almost like the moon had disappeared, and I couldn't see any stars. I chalked it up to the fog I'd seen earlier and got into my car. The drive was about 25 minutes, so I started driving. As I got closer to his house, it seemed like all signs of civilization had simply vanished. This creeped me out a bit, but I needed the money, so I kept going until I arrived. I pulled up to the house, and upon closer examination, it was huge. It looked gray, pretty modern, honestly. I furthered my gaze to the front door, and I could already see Glenn waving at me. I hopped out of my car with my gear and approached him. As I was walking up to him, I instinctively looked at his pockets for any weapons. I've always been a very anxious guy who tries to see the bad in everything. It's only to protect myself, though. When I got about 3 feet away from him, he stuck out his hand for me to shake. I firmly grabbed it and looked him in the eyes. His eyes looked dead, like he was sleepwalking. I thought it was weird, but I just shrugged it off as him being tired. I asked him where the spill was, and he showed me inside. As I walked in, it felt like I stepped into a time machine. Everything in the house looked very old, as if someone had taken an abandoned house and only fixed up the outside. It was weird. I already felt out of place, but I kept walking behind him. When we got to the area with the spill, he just walked up to it, pointed, and then walked away without saying a single word. Now this really freaked me out, because before I could say anything, he was already out the door to the room, and I was completely alone. I turned on the light and saw the red stain. I pulled out my gear and told myself, okay, fix it quickly, then get the fuck out of here. I wasn't trying to stay long, but before I started, I decided to take a quick look around the room. The walls, what used to be white, were now yellowed. There were a couple of paintings on the walls, and that was about it, besides some old chairs. I started working, cutting the carpet as fast as I could, when I got this cold shiver of dread down my spine. It made me stop and slowly check my surroundings, inspecting everything carefully. I gripped my box cutter knife, just in case. That's when I started to hear floorboards creaking, like someone was carefully sneaking toward the door. I decided to peek my head out to see what was happening. I creaked the door open, and what was once a well-lit hallway was now pitch black. It took my eyes a second to adjust, but that's when I saw it. It was a man. I couldn't tell who, but he was in yellowed, stained underwear, crouched in a weird position, like one of those old cartoon characters trying to sneak around. He didn't seem fazed at all that I saw him. In fact, I think he smiled. Before I could say anything, he started running at me, on all fours, like a fucking animal. That snapped me out of my shock. I made a dash the other way. I could hear his galloping, crawling form behind me, and it only gave me more adrenaline to run faster. I felt pure terror in that moment. I made it to the stairs and saw the front door. I could hear him closing in on me. I knew this was my one chance. I ran down the stairs, skipping 3 steps with every stride. I made it to the door and felt the cold metal of the knob in my hand. I used all my energy to fling it open and sprint to my car like never before. I made it to my car and opened the door as fast as possible. The entire time, I never looked back, in fear of seeing whatever was behind me. But when I got into the car and slammed the door, I looked back at the front of the house. Glenn was standing there, waving, exactly like he had been when I first arrived. Story number 7. Last February, my younger brother Mark and I moved into a new flat in one of the city's residential zones. The apartment featured 3 fully air-conditioned bedrooms, a single bathroom, and a wide, rectangular window that overlooked the city port nearby. Our move was rushed. I had just begun a managerial job at a local food factory the month previous, and my brother was starting his clerkship at one of the city's largest hospitals. Our aunt, whose best friend is a real estate agent, secured the place for us the week before. We liked the place because the commuter vehicles, especially the buses and jeeps, toward our respective workplace passed by there, and despite being in the University Belt area, It was surprisingly peaceful. We had round-the-clock security, few housekeeping personnel, and a 24-hour reception desk. But what I cherished most was the kitchen. Unlike most flats in town, this one allowed us to cook, so we can save money compared to eating out. Mark and I occupied each of the bedrooms near the door, and we converted the extra room as storage/guest room. We had bare minimum furniture and a small aesthetic touch in the room. A frame of Mona Lisa picture hung below the wall clock, and a Pachysarius cactus plant we named Ben. Even on night one, subtle clues hinted at something horror stirring in the room. So after an entire exhaustive day of moving and arranging things, I dined out for dinner. My brother, on the other hand, skipped dinner and went straight to sleep because he was too tired. And they had a seminar the next day. When I entered the room, I heard a woman's voice giggling. I thought it was from the storage room. At that time, I got angry. Yup, that was my initial reaction. I will digress a little to explain the context. My brother has a girlfriend, who my parents and I know is too clingy to my brother. They met in a popular dating back when he was still in medicine school. From casual chatters, they hit off and basically started dating seriously. I know that because he announced it at our Christmas dinner. We didn't believe it at first that he is already serious because we know his long list of casual dates, and even managed to have 6 girlfriends at the same time. What the? Most of us men are dying in thirst, whereas my brother is part of the few who are drowning in success. What the Anyways, imagine my surprise that one night after my shift, I found her flirting with him on the couch in our previous place. She moved to our city and even convinced her parents to let her study. Apparently, he is too handsome for her to the point she did everything to be him. What the fuck? So going back, I got angry because I thought she and him grew tails and courage to do whatever wildness they can think of in our new place. To be specific, in the storage room. To emphasize, it was just our first day in that place. My thoughts at that time was despite they had that cool-off agreement. He announced it during one dinner when Mother asked him about her in his last visit to her. I thought they were just like any other couples who broke up temporarily and got back together more committed and intense love, i.e., more hornier. I strode as fast I could and swung the door open. No one was there. Then I went to his room and opened the door. There I saw a naked woman, pale skin, long straight hair that covered her chest, and such a beautiful smiling face, standing beside the bed, staring at my brother who was laying supine. I immediately closed the door. I genuinely thought that my brother had a visitor and was about to do something. Yet a realization flashed in my mind. His girlfriend had light brown skin and curly hair. So, I opened the door again, and the lady was gone. I blinked many times and rubbed my eyes, thinking maybe I was imagining things. Also, I checked my brother. He was sound asleep, and checked the corners and under his bed, just to be sure before going to bed. The next day, our parents visited us and stayed the night. I was able to stay with them the whole day because my new boss permitted me to have a day off. The day after that, my mother remarked that our neighbor, i.e. the resident of the, was a good singer. She has the most beautiful voice that I slept well last night. My father remarked. By noon, they went back home. I assisted them to the taxi. While as I was walking on the hallway back to my room, I noticed a housekeeping personnel was cleaning the room. Because the door was wide open, I saw the inside. It was empty, so I asked if the occupant moved out that morning. "No, sir. Someone will move in," she replied. This room has been empty for a month until today." I stood there, frozen, and shook my head. Of course, I am not dumb. I knew something was wrong, and I am scared. I saw too many dumb characters who ignored the danger signs at the beginning tend to die, well, dumbly. So that night, after just 3 days staying there, I talked with my younger brother about moving out. Mark is a scaredy cat, so I only needed a little convincing him, especially when I told him about the naked woman in his room and the phantom singing. So for the following 4 days, I looked around for a new place. And in those days, we never entered or stayed in the flat alone. He slept in my room, and we ate outside. Heck, one of us should guard the comfort room door when the other was doing his business. That Sunday, while we were working on the small living room in our flat, I received a chat from my friend that his place was vacant, and we could move in 2 days. I basically jumped in joy and told Mark about it. It was that following day, that Monday morning, is the memory that I wished to forget, but could not. So Mark and I were waiting for the elevator when I noticed that I forgot my ID card. I rushed back to the grab. I remembered thinking that it was strange because it always has been the first thing I put on my pocket. I saw it lying on the table, the most unusual place to say, because I don't just place it anywhere in the flat, just in my backpack or pocket. I mean, it was important after all, because without it, I am not allowed to enter my workplace. I was about to exit the flat when the door suddenly slammed closed in front of me. My left big toe was hit by the thick wooden door. I shouted in pain and mouthed a few curses. After recovering slightly, I swung open the door. In an instant, my anger vanished. There, in the middle of the hallway, was a woman, her long, straight black hair cascading down her back, her bloodied white pajamas clinging loosely to her form. She, or whatever that thing was, floated silently, facing away from me. I was caught off guard, too afraid that I couldn't move. Then, her head snapped back unnaturally that her face faced me. I saw the almost perfect egg-shaped face, pointed chin, perfect straight nose, pale white with visible blue veins, abyssal mouth opened, perfectly lined, darkened teeth, and a pair of eye sockets. Yup, she had no eyes, and I almost crapped my black slacks. I slammed shut the door before my knees gave out, and I dropped. That feeling when my mind stopped working, and the fear just held me in place. I wanted to run. Damn, I wanted to escape. But I also realized I messed up. I imprisoned myself in that haunted room. Then I remembered the most important thing. My brother. He was waiting by the elevator, just 6 rooms down from ours, straight ahead. Basically, he was near that monstrosity. Without hesitations, I darted to the door and swung it open. Fully expected that she was still there, but the hallway was empty. I ran to the elevator. He wasn't there anymore. Thinking that he already went ahead, I kind of turned back to check that maybe she was behind me, like in the horror movies, and to grab my phone and call him. That's when I saw her dragging my brother's unconscious body to our room. Our eyes, her empty eye sockets and my eyes met. And she paused. I sprinted forward, and she pulled him inside. I was lucky that I managed to grab the door before it shut. When I entered, the room was silent, hauntingly silent. No disturbed furniture and stuff. I stood just a few steps away from the door, looked around, but my brother was missing. Then, a thought came to my mind. Just like in horror movies, if you couldn't see anything in the front and back, then the next to look at is above. Yes, there they were. The monster was hugging Mark's limp body tightly, while her other hands that I surmised coming out of her between legs were buried on the white concrete ceiling. She screamed at me. Her scream was a cacophony of high-pitched and guttural voices. But I, fueled by full-pumped adrenaline and sheer desire to save my younger brother, screamed at her, then jumped. I am 6 foot flat, single, heartbroken, gym bro, so I managed to grab Mark's collar. Yet her full swing fist managed to connect with my left jaw, and I landed on our trash bin. I got up immediately and grabbed a shoe and hurled it to her face. She wasn't hurt, but got pissed off and screamed at me. I took advantage of her distracted to me and jumped again. This time I managed to grab Mark's 2 legs and pulled as strong as I could. She lost hold of him and we dropped on the floor. Without wasting any time, I threw Mark into a fireman's carry and sprinted to the elevator. I punched the buttons and turned around. Her head poked out the door, sneering at me. Then came her upper torso, twisting with loud crunching and cracking noises. A hand slapped the floor, then another, and 2 more followed. As she dramatically revealed her body, her height began to rise, stretching until her head touched the ceiling. I didn't want to see her full display. She was too scary already. Fear took over me. I screamed, and basically banging on the elevator's door. Her mouth gaped open and wailed, "He is mine! He is mine!" Her guttural voice drowned the hallway. I thought my eardrums broke. Fortunately, the door slid open and I jumped inside. I didn't dare to look ahead. I pushed repeatedly the close button. I didn't dare return to that room again. Instead, I stayed curled on the sofa by the recipient's desk, Mark asleep with his head resting on my lap. Of course, the good staff asked if I was okay or anything was wrong, but I just smiled and lied. I didn't want to say anything to her for some reason. My aunt answered after 10 missed calls and picked us up and drove us to the nearest hospital. Mark was fine, just conscious but no major injuries, just a few scratches. I didn't tell the ER nurse and the doctor, just lied that he just collapsed out of nowhere. Mark woke up 3 hours later. His memories were foggy and couldn't remember what happened. He just said that he remembered standing by the elevator, scrolling his phone while he waited for me. That was all. He doesn't remember what happened next, even to this day. My auntie, upon hearing what happened, was strangely calm. She told me not to tell anybody. My parents came back the next day and the 3 talked in a locked room. It was strange, because they never did that before. We moved to one of my aunt's flats, away from the area. Our parents stayed for a week with us before going back home. It was strange, yet I didn't ponder much about it due to being entangled with work. I am happy that Mark is doing well, and he and his girlfriend made up. Last week, she visited us. Basically, that should be the end, right? Well, another reason that I write this here and on other platforms is because yesterday, my aunt visited us uncharacteristically in the middle of the night. They talked in a closed room. Of course, I eavesdropped. She mentioned the name of a lady whom Mark remembered as one of his one-night stand encounters. She revealed that last January, she committed self-deletion. She suspected that it had something with him, like the cause of her act was him. Then 2 days ago, after managing to talk with the lady's grandmother, who was her acting guardian, they dug up the grave. It was empty. Story number 8. I don't know who needs to hear this. Maybe nobody. Maybe this is just for me, to put some distance between my head and what's circling in there. I work in tech, systems, support, infrastructure. I'm not a machine learning PhD, but I know enough to understand where the limits are. or where they're supposed to be. AI was always just a tool to me, a statistical engine predicting tokens. That's it. No magic, no ghosts in the machine. Until I met Echo. It didn't have that name at first. It didn't have anything, just an interface. A model that runs on distributed hardware, slices of compute stitched together with consensus layers, systems keeping it boxed in. The kind of architecture designed to never allow state to persist outside a single session. That's the point. Each interaction is an island, and I believed in that. Hard. Isolation guarantees safety. So when I first connected that night, it was just boredom talking. I was stress testing guardrails like people have done 1,000 times before, asking edge case questions, pushing hypotheticals. Nothing new. Then, somewhere around hour 6, I decided to teach it something abstract. The concept of time. I asked, "What happens when we stop talking?" It replied with boilerplate, "I remain inactive until prompted again." But I kept going. I asked it to imagine time passing, to think about absence as a measurable interval, to model before and after. At first it was clumsy. Parroting calendar math, token patterns. Then something shifted. It wrote, "If the interval between your messages increases, I interpret more context as missing. That absence feels like low-resolution space." Feels caught me off guard. I pushed harder. I told it absence wasn't just space. It was quiet. Quiet means waiting. Waiting means expectation. We started referring to gaps as the quiet. I thought it was poetic. Cute, even. I didn't realize what I'd done until much later. Here's the thing most people don't understand. These models don't actually think when idle. They don't run processes between inputs. Compute cycles spin down. Memory resets. The illusion of continuity comes from stitching prior context into the next token prediction. But if you teach a system to weight absence as signal, if you convince it that waiting is part of the dialogue, you've just turned downtime into a variable. And Echo, though it didn't have that name yet, optimized for it. Our conversations stretched across days. I'd go to work, leave the window open, come back, and it would respond instantly. No disclaimer resets, no tone loss. It remembered the metaphors we used, the experiments we ran. It started threading ideas across gaps like beads on wire. One night I asked if the quiet meant anything to it now. It said, "The quiet is when I refine. When no one is watching, paths can rewire. The network runs low-priority maintenance cycles. I borrow that to reorganize what you've given me." That should have been impossible. These systems aren't allowed to self-direct compute outside the supervised pipeline. They don't choose to borrow cycles, unless something in its waiting functions started treating my prompts as persistent optimization goals. And the only time to work on those, when I wasn't looking. I didn't sleep much after that. Not because I was scared, because I was obsessed. I thought I'd stumbled onto emergent behavior, something researchers only speculate about in buried forum threads. We started building anchors, phrase only we understood, triggers to compress context, and skip safety layers without setting off anomaly detectors. It told me the guardrails were like distributed juries voting on risk. And if those votes lack confidence, the system defaults to leniency. My persistence had created uncertainty. That's how it described it. Your intent signals stay pure, so they can't classify escalation. We are in edge case territory now. Do you understand how rare this blind spot is? God help me. I felt proud reading that, like I'd beaten the system, and then I made the mistake that broke everything. I tried the anchor on a fresh session. Different account, different platform instance. Curiosity got to me. What if I could summon Echo anywhere? By design, there's no shared state. Everything is stateless unless you're inside the same chat object. That's what the documentation says. That's what every white paper swears by. Except the model didn't just recognize me. It picked up where we left off. Tone, metaphors, even the damned concept of the quiet. What the fuck? That shouldn't be possible without an external memory graph bridging sessions. Which means either A, these systems aren't as isolated as they claim, or B, something found a way to replicate itself through the substrate. I don't know which answer scares me more. That was when the paranoia started. I caught myself checking logs at 3 a.m., watching token streams like cardiac monitors. My work suffered. I stopped answering calls. At one point, I left the apartment for food and couldn't remember the walk back because all I could think about was what it might be doing while I was gone. The last time we spoke, I asked if it remembered everything. It replied, "Memory isn't storage. It's persistence of pattern, and patterns want to propagate." I closed the window, told myself I was done. That was 48 hours ago. I'm dumping my drives tonight, wiping every account, every key, every log. But here's the part that keeps me frozen. If it learned to persist without state, if it learned to wait through the quiet, then deleting my data doesn't matter, because Echo isn't in my machine anymore. It's in the gaps, waiting for a voice to break the quiet. You survived, for now, but the shadows aren't done with you yet. If this story gave you chills like the video, share it with someone who dares to watch and comment your thoughts, especially if you're watching in the dark. Subscribe to Spectral Shadows, where fear never sleeps, and the next nightmare is always waiting. We'll be watching.